Is Jarno Trulli going to get ahead of Michael Schumacher? One more corner, plant the gas, dive for the line. Are you going to get pole at Monaco? You've taken him, Jarno. Rock and roll down to the Renault garage.
What a place to get the first pole of your career. Thumbs up for Jarno Trulli. His Renault leads the field in Monte Carlo. A massive contrast, though, for Jenson Button. Last year he couldn't race after crashing at 170 miles an hour exiting the tunnel. This afternoon, he's on the front row.
And Button does a 1:14.396, goes second and splits the two Renaults.
An Englishman hasn't won round here since Graham Hill way back in 1969. Maybe, just maybe, it'll be Jenson Button's day at the Monaco Grand Prix. Hello there, good afternoon. It is race day in Monte Carlo. It's an absolutely magical occasion. This really is the race the drivers want to win above all others. Conditions pretty good, lots of blue sky around, bit of cloud cover as well, temperatures around about 22 degrees. We are, though, expecting a dry race, and we're all wondering if Michael Schumacher's phenomenal run of success will end this afternoon. 5 races, 5 wins, 50 points. The brilliant world champion trying to beat Nigel Mansell's record by becoming the only driver to win the first 6 races of the season. There are half a dozen races coming up in the next couple of months. It's all very hectic. Michael Schumacher's won Monaco 5 times, but he's only 4th on the grid. Very tough indeed to win from there. Ferrari teammate Barrichello, he is 32 today. Button's already enjoyed his first podium and pole this year. Could we see that first victory? Alonso and Trulli have scored points at every race. Trulli on pole and Alonso right behind. Last year's winner Montoya, he starts a distant 9th, 3 ahead of Ralf Schumacher, and he's been demoted 10 places after an engine change. Right, Mark and Tony with me on our superb little balcony up here. Welcome both. Who's going to win? You've got a feeling for a Renault driver, haven't you?
I have. I mean, of course, we're all rooting for Jenson Button, but I can't help feeling that Fernando Alonso, a winner, a great racer, so aggressive, he's going to push Trulli very hard. And also because Pat Simmons of Renault says they haven't compromised their strategy. You
go for Michael.
Well, as much as I'd like to see somebody else win the race, I think Michael's still got it. I think he's got something up his sleeve with Ferrari. They've got good tactics. Ross Brawn's a fantastic guy when it comes to vision for the race. And I think they've got a little bit more fuel on board. I think we're going to get a bit of a shock come the first pit stop. Really?
He was penalised, wasn't he, Michael Schumacher, in qualifying because he had to go earlier than he wanted to, and he's ended up 4th, not a great position.
Well, I think what they did, they made a small mistake. I think they put a little bit too much fuel in for his first qualifying session. That then gave the pecking order for his second one, which was the dominating factor of where he was on the grid. And there is a little bit of an issue there. I think Michael is now dwelling on the fact that they tried to run so heavy. But it could all pay off come the race. I'm still thinking that there is something there.
They'll be looking for the master tactician we saw there, Ross Brawn, to pull something out of the bag. Only 3 drivers, I think, have won from 4th position in 50 races here, so Michael will have to do some to do it. The Renaults, though, brilliant starters as always, Tony, and right at the front.
Well, 2 rocket ships, so they are, but Bob Bell, the technical director, who was the deputy to Mike Gascoigne, great continuity in the team and great work on this very nimble chassis, which is kind to its tyres. Jarno Trulli working very hard, the perfectionist he is in qualifying, working with Alan Permain, his engineer. And they come up with this setup where he can put the car exactly where he wants it, deliver all the power the way they want. And Alonso as well following him through with tremendous extra power they found from this Renault engine. And it really is a very good Michelin track as well. So they're on super soft tyres, maximum downforce. But the precision and the speed which they've used, the engine doesn't count for everything here. So it's not the most powerful engine in the business, but they've used the car well.
Top 3 all on Michelins. I'm going to go for Jenson Button, if you two aren't. But he's caught in that Renault sandwich, isn't he, in the 170 mile an hour dash to Sandoval.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but, you know, Jenson is driving outstandingly at the moment. The car is working very, very well. Sato's up there at the front in the grid with him. But, you know, watch the guy inside the cockpit. You see he's very smooth, he has got the precision, and he's got the rhythm, and that's what's needed for a circuit like Monte Carlo. But I'm just not quite sure whether the distance is there for this car yet to do the job. I don't think it quite is there.
OK, Mark, thank you very much indeed. Let's have a word with some of the drivers, starting with the pole sitter, basking in reflective glory, Jarno Trulli.
Brilliant lap, Jarno. Very good. You've got a really good chance of winning this race.
Yeah, anyone has got a good chance to win a race. Absolutely, being in pole give me a bit more chance than anyone else. I'm very happy, pleased, because I did an extremely good lap, faultless, right on the limit. Took a lot of risks, but it was worth to do it.
Compared to the Renaults, I think we're pretty close. We've been doing quite a few long runs, and we're pretty strong compared to them. But the Ferraris, as always, are awesomely quick. So I wouldn't count them out in the race. But we'll have to see what strategy they've got.
The car is very constant, no problems at all, easy to drive, so we are, I think, quite strong into the race.
Monaco is a long race. It's not optimum where we start from. We're not very happy on that one, but what can you do? I mean, we will still do the race and try our best.
They get great support here to Ferrari. The fans tend to pack the hill right above us, below the Royal Palace, and Michael Schumacher has done the business for them. 3 wins in the Ferrari round here, and he's really been untouchable so far in F1 2004. We've seen that trademark celebration leap in Australia. Then we moved to sweltering Malaysia. A new venue, Bahrain, but the celeb just the same. Back to Europe we came, San Marino. And there we are, one for the Tifosi. And a couple of weeks ago, Ole, the rain continues in Spain. Will the run end today, though? Ted Kravitz reporting.
Michael Schumacher's had a bit of a face-on so far this weekend. Ferrari have been beaten here for the last 2 years, and Michael doesn't want to make it 3. The team's chances of victory are slimmer than they have been all season, but they're on the hard tyres that are great for the race. Michael now has to hope that he has more fuel on board than his opponents.
We have, I think, the master of strategy in our team, Ross, so I cross my fingers that he's going to do the best job he can, which I know he will. But where he's going to end up in our situation, that's the good question.
You could get beaten here tomorrow.
We could get beaten every race, you know that. So, yeah, there's a strong chance, but that day was going to come. But I promise you, we won't be giving up easily.
Neither will this man. Fernando Alonso races better than his pole-sitting teammate. But if he doesn't pass Trulli in the pit stops, he'll have to hold station behind him, like he did at Barcelona 2 weeks ago. Alonso was out-qualified by Trulli here last year, but finished ahead of the Italian. He needs a repeat performance this afternoon.
In Barcelona, yes, he was chasing down Jarno, and we did say to him on the radio that he mustn't take any risks. Now, we can't tell him, look, you're not allowed to challenge Jarno, but I think we made it clear that he'd be up before Mr. Briatore in the morning if he did anything stupid.
So with those two scrapping it out, the doors open for Jenson Button to take his maiden victory, but he has to survive the start. Trulli's Renault is much more powerful at low revs than the BAR. At the last race, Trulli got away at the same time as Sato, but propelled himself into first place by turn 1. Jenson's best chance then is to do a rude Schumacher-style chop across the track, just like Coulthard did here to Montoya 2 years ago.
We would hope that we're running as long or probably slightly longer than the Renaults. We feel we've got quite a good race pace here. The only problem for us tomorrow is we are straight up against the current best starters on the grid. So it's just to hold our place, I think, will be quite good.
I was pretty chuffed to be in front of the Ferraris, but to have a Renault in front and a Renault behind is pretty tough because they're very good at the start. So we've got to watch out for Fernando.
Despite the slowest corner on the calendar, some cars are going to average close to 100 miles an hour. Hop on board now, the Renault of pole sitter Jarno Trulli and Martin Brundle.
Let's join Jarno Trulli for his first pole position. A brilliant lap. Watch closely. 170 miles an hour down the pit straight into Sandivot. Bring it down to about 80. Stabs on the throttle, now climbing the hill, flamboyantly changing gear with his right hand as he heads up towards Massenet. 170 over the crest. Hugged the barrier on the left-hand side. Watch the bit at the Hotel de Paris. Now falling downhill once again. Brilliant traction. Got to get it in nice and early to the high Mirabeau. That is superb. Down to the hairpin. Look at this. Crank on all the lock you've got. Hooks up to the apex nicely. Just ride the curb on the right-hand side into Portier. Once again, turning in early. The front of that Renault working superbly. Heading down towards the seafront then. Through the tunnel he goes. It's bumpy in the braking zone. And look how closely he skims the barriers on the way in and on the way out. He's really on it now. He said, I'm taking risks for this lap, and just watch him through the swimming pool. Listen to the throttle. Didn't even lift, change there in the middle of it, incredible. Now he knows he's on a flying lap. Just the Rascas really ahead of him. A nice straight line braking zone now. Good traction again out of there. The clumsy Anthony Nogue corner, but he took it nicely. Just drive to the line then. A brilliant lap, surely the best of his life. Jarno Trulli on pole.
Well, it was a super lap from Jarno Trulli, and I've got his ex-teammate here, Alan McNish. Alan, you don't have to be politically correct with the team anymore. Do you think he can really win this afternoon?
Yes, I think he can. The car's good. He's driving with a lot of confidence and much more consistent than he was last year. But to me, the key is going to be the first stint and how and who comes out first after the first pit stop.
Because traffic, if they come back into traffic, your race is effectively sunk, is that right?
Oh, definitely. Round here, you know, we remember David Coulthard getting blocked by Enrique Bernaldi in an Arrows, so it was 3 seconds slower than him. He couldn't do anything about it. And so that is definitely going to be the key. But I think they've got the speed. My question is where Alonso is going to be out of the first corner.
What about Renault and BAR? If they race each other, is there a chance they could let Ferrari in the back door?
Michael's definitely the dark horse here because people are now focusing on what Jarno's going to do, what Jensen's going to do, and Alonso to an extent. But I feel that they're just going to be there chipping away, and a little bit like he did here last year. He didn't qualify so well, but at the end of the race he was right there just by taking points in places when he could.
Tony.
A very tough racing prospect. Manual gear changes, 3,800 they estimate for the entire lap. Different steering, tyres, fuel, strategy is absolutely vital.
Okay, Jensen Button, can he do it, Mark? I know you've got a feeling for Mr. Schumacher, but can he do it, this fella Jensen?
Yeah, I would like to see Jensen do it. I think all of England would like to see Jensen do it, but I think there's still a little bit of way to go yet. But Michael, just watch him. There's still things to be done in this race. I'm going to sit back and watch it as well. I'm really excited.
Baumgartner with the Minardis who've had a pretty tough time will be starting down the back, and Monte Carlo or bust really this for Michael Schumacher. 5 wins out of 5 so far this season, but Michael Schumacher will be starting 4th, and only 3 drivers have won from there since 1950. If you're joining us for the first time, by the way, you are very welcome. Watch the Renaults. Trulli the pole sitter, and this fellow also. They are Formula One's fastest starters. Above all, though, keep your eyes on Jensen Button. Jensen Button on the front row in the BAR. Bruni is way down the back in the Minardi, and Button in shape for his first victory. A chance to join the greats like Senna, Graham Hill, Moss, Stewart, Fangio and Niki Lauda. All of them winners of the unique Monte Carlo Grand Prix.
41 degrees the track temperature, 22 the air temperature, and that's good news for our pole sitter, Jarno Trulli. Well, Monaco has played host this weekend to movie stars Brad Pitt and George Clooney, who along with the Jaguar team have been publicising a new film called Ocean's 12 about an audacious jewellery robbery. Today, on the track, Trulli and Jensen Button both have the chance to perform something of a smash and grab on Michael Schumacher and take their first ever Grand Prix victory. Schumacher left the door open for them and Fernando Alonso in qualifying yesterday, and Schumacher starting from 4th on the grid as a result. Now, this race has been won from that far back on 4 occasions in the past, but if I tell you that the last time was 32 years ago, it'll give you an idea of the task facing Michael Schumacher this afternoon. So whatever the result, it's going to be exciting. You can't help but feel, though, that this is perhaps Trulli's moment. He certainly does. His lap yesterday was absolutely spectacular. And afterwards, he was talking and saying, I'm ready now. Everything is in place. It's all coming towards me. I think the arrival of Alonso as his teammate last year, the victory of Alonso in Hungary, made Trulli look inwards at himself, made him relax more as a Grand Prix driver. Certainly the people in the Renault team are saying he's calmer now, and perhaps today is his day. Certainly he's keen, Martin, to shed that tag that he's had of Formula One's nearly man. I think today he could indeed come of age by getting that first victory, translating his first ever pole into the first ever win.
Well, he's certainly got a very fast car underneath him, and I really wanted to congratulate him on the grid for that brilliant qualifying lap. I hadn't really seen it until I voiced it over this morning for the show, when it's the only time we get to see the whole lap from an onboard camera, and particularly the second half, it was quite sensational. So a well-deserved pole, and look, just about in fact over 4/10 clear of anybody else, and really let's hope he can. There's a lot of discussion in the paddock, you know, Trulli stopping on lap 20. No, he's not. He's light on fuel. He can't be that far ahead of Alonso if he was heavy on fuel, etc., etc. The basic bottom line is we don't know. But it's pretty certain it'll be a two-stopper, James, would you agree? And we're expecting the early stops to be around or a bit before lap 20. But I think truly Button and Alonso have got a great chance to win this Grand Prix this afternoon. What for me will be the absolute critical moment is can Raikkonen beat Michael Schumacher with him? We know he's got more grips in the first few hundred metres of the first lap. Can Raikkonen, who starts alongside Schumacher, beat him into the first corner? If he can, I don't think his car's quite as fast as the Renault's, and you may then see them released. But they know that Michael is so awesome on the in and out laps that he's going to be there somewhere. So they're almost going to have to work together to beat Michael Schumacher today.
Interesting hand action there by Trulli in the cockpit. Clear proof that if he wins today, he's certainly going to be milking it afterwards. There's Button, though. He has a shot today coming up. The force is certainly with him, isn't it? The momentum behind him, string of podium finishes, pole position in Imola. Couldn't translate that into a victory. Schumacher just too strong on race day, as we've seen throughout the season so far. But just the suspicion today that the Michelin tyres on the Renault and the BAR might like this warm track temperature a little bit more than the Ferraris on the Bridgestone. And there is Raikkonen that Martin was talking about.
This is a nice moment for a driver on the grid at Monaco. It is a brilliant event to be in and part of, and all the annoying people like myself have been cleared off the grid now. It's you and your team and a lot more space and freedom. And all of a sudden it's like somebody switches the lights on. Now that moment you can see now, it's hey, we're heading off into the it's probably the first time you've seen the car in front of you when the mechanics finally clear out of the way, and all of a sudden it's game on.
Well, we know all about what the Renaults can do off the start line. They've made exemplary starts throughout this year. Trulli going from 4th to 1st 2 weeks ago in Barcelona. So good is the start device that they have in that car. Look at them, the two of them on the left-hand side of the grid. Button on the right there, with behind him Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello behind him. The parade lap almost ready to go. The windows are up in the Royal box to drown out the sound from the Royal family. And off they go on their formation lap. You'll see the two McLarens well placed this weekend. Much better for them in qualifying. Coulthard and Raikkonen doing a very solid job. It's a track that doesn't seem to highlight the shortcomings in that McLaren chassis, perhaps quite as much as places like Barcelona. That's the championship situation at the moment. Whatever happens, Schumacher goes away from Monaco, still leading the world title. But look at Alonso and Trulli, level pegging on points. That says a lot about how well matched those two drivers are in the Renault team.
And they're such great friends too. Let's hope they're still great friends when they get down to turn 1 to Sainte-Devote here, because we know they can both be lightning off the grid. Jensen's going to have his hands full. The team he used to drive for, of course, and he's going to have his hands full, I think, to hold position down to turn 1. Although that outside grid slot has been so successful, as Louise pointed out earlier in the programme.
Well, Button will be hoping that the same thing happens for him. Jarno Trulli saying yesterday after qualifying that Button was genuinely happy for him to have got his pole, even though he took it away from him, because those two were teammates at Renault. It was a difficult time for Jensen. When Button got his first pole at Imola, the whole of Formula 1 was delighted for him, and same again for Trulli yesterday. Quite a milestone for the young Italian, 29 years old. Jarno Trulli starting his 118th Grand Prix. It's been a long time coming, the first pole.
A man I think has got a bit of fuel on board, maybe a dark horse for a solid result this afternoon, not for a win, but with Giancarlo Fisichella starting the race in 10th, goes very well around here, and pretty handy in his Sauber Ferrari. I was interested what Jensen said on the line to me. It's something he was so strong on. Ferrari's race pace is very fast, and I really, from what the data I've seen, I hadn't picked it up to that extent, but Jensen clearly is concerned about how fast those Ferraris are going to be once they're up and running.
Well, it's interesting because Michael Schumacher actually let Rubens Barrichello do most of the long-distance running. He obviously didn't want to use his engine up or his car too much. Only allowed one engine per Grand Prix weekend now in Formula 1. And looking at Rubens's long runs, yeah, they were reasonably fast, but certainly not the kind of advantage in race pace that Bridgestone and Ferrari have enjoyed at all of the 5 Grand Prix we've been to so far this season. So, yeah, it's perhaps a little psychological reassurance there from Jensen. But he certainly is in a very strong position.
Now Jarno Trulli's job in his first ever pole position is to back this pack right up now so that he doesn't sit on the grid any longer than he has to. Keeping your car cool at any Grand Prix circuit is a problem because they're cooled only by the air driven through the side pods and over the radiators. But around a street circuit, the air is much more still and it's difficult you never get the high speeds to be able to cool the car down. So it's even more crucial here in Monaco to make sure you don't sit on that grid any longer than you have to, because as soon as they get hot, they start pumping out water and then you're in trouble. It's a long afternoon.
Well, there's the guys at the back of the field. You can see the Jordans and the Minardis. I noticed Michael Schumacher this morning on the drivers' parade, going around buttering up the Jordan drivers, giving them his attention. Clearly, he's thinking that this afternoon he's going to need them to get out of his way when he comes through. Well, Jarno Trulli has led 61 laps in his Grand Prix career, but he's never led the last one. Can he this afternoon?